Now I will do things scared because no matter what, I'm not going to let fear keep me from doing the things that could really change my life. Leave it to my mom to bring in physics and flight into our social conversation. A lot of us feel helpless. We feel like we can't take action or the problem is too big. What's up, listeners? Get ready for raw, unfiltered, laugh out loud conversations among friends. So take your bra off, get comfy, and let's jump into our show. Hey everybody, it's me, it's Jennifer, and you'll probably notice I'm by myself. And that's okay because we wanted this year in this season of Bras Off to try out lots of different formats. And so you'll notice we'll have guests. We've got episodes with just Fiorella and I, and now you have an episode with just me. But I'm really excited to talk to you all, and I don't know how long this is going to be, or hopefully you guys really enjoy it, but this is inspired from a trip that I recently took. I got to visit my lovely daughter. She just had a big birthday. She's in college. I flew to Michigan in January and I said, this is how much I love you, because it was like 11 below, 8 below. You know, when you look at the little weather app and it says, you know, what's the high today? 2. I'm like, I absolutely love this young lady, and that's why I wanted to celebrate her birthday with her. So I flew to Michigan, and honestly, we didn't really do a whole lot, but sometimes those are the absolute best weekends that I have with my daughter. And the last night we were there, it was so cold, so we just kind of huddled together. We watched some football, and then we just started talking. And honestly, like, my favorite moments as a mom, especially now that my daughter is an adult, are these great conversations that we get to have with each other. And interestingly enough, people always think it's the, you know, older, wiser parental figure who imparts all this knowledge on the young child. But honestly, when we talk, I learn just as much from her as she does from me. I hope she learned something from me. So I want to dedicate this episode to moms and mom figures because I think we deserve some love and appreciation. So maybe moms figures, and moms and daughters, that kind of thing. And of course I say mom figures because not everyone has a biological mom that they're close with or that's here. And there are a lot of people in our lives that serve this role of like mentor and friend and confidant. And I think it's really important to really celebrate the knowledge and the wisdom that we're all sharing with each other, and also just say thank you. So I'm a mom, and I have a great mom. And, you know, we always hear about like celebrity mom duos. We got the Beyonce and Tina Knowles and Goldie Hawn and Kate Hudson and Jada Pinkett Smith, Will Smith, blah, blah, blah. So there's just a lot of moms and mother-daughters out there who are really sharing a lot back and forth. And I wanted to talk about some of the advice that either I've given or I've received or given and received from moms. So a week ago or so, I put out on my social media when I was thinking about this topic, and I was like, what are some of the best advice that you received from your mom? And you guys don't disappoint. I totally love it when you engage with these questions that probably for you come out of nowhere. And I just pulled a couple of my favorites. And one was, if the baby doesn't cry, the mama doesn't come. And then the person explained it means you got to speak up if you want something. And that really resonated with me. I think it's very similar to the whole closed mouths don't get fed kind of thing. But I love the fact that it was described as a baby and a mother, or mother and child, because you know, we need to be able to speak up and tell people what we want. And then another really good one, which is so simple that we hear all the time, is you can do anything you put your mind to. And it's one of those things we say a lot and we hear a lot, but honestly, how many of us are really living that? How many of us really believe that? And so I just thought that was a really cool piece of advice. So I want to tell you a story about a piece of advice that my mom gave. And I don't even think she was thinking about it as advice. My mom is one of those people who I think she was almost like an oracle. I jokingly say she's an oracle. She always has these like amazing wisdom. So my mom doesn't live in Las Vegas. She lives in Texas. And she used to live in Michigan. When I was in Michigan, she was in Michigan, and she was only an hour away. So we always had this great opportunity to not only talk to each other, but really see each other pretty often. And when we both moved, I missed that interaction. So now I talk to my mom nearly every day on my morning walk with my dogs. And I think she's one of the smartest, most insightful people that I know. And she speaks Jennifer. And what I mean by that is like she gets me in a way that no one else on this planet does. And I understand that because when I look at my daughter, I feel like I speak her too, right? She is a very unique individual. Obviously, she has close relationships with her family members, but there's something about when we're talking, I can just see it. I see it in her face. I hear it in her voice. I understand her. So anyway, back to my mom. Typically, our conversations on these walks are my mom sharing her latest project or thoughts on the news or entertainment. Like she stays really up on that. My mom has always been the pop culture diva. You want her on your trivia team. In fact, our Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua conversation was probably one of my favorites ever. My mom is hilarious. And then, of course, I update her on my life in Vegas and whatever my latest dilemma is or juicy story. And I have to warn my friends, she may not know your name, but she probably knows everything about you because she's the person I talk to on the daily pretty much. So one day, I was telling my mom about someone I dated and then stopped dating, and then they kind of contacted me and I kind of let them come back into my life a little bit. And I felt on the fence about that whole situation. And after about 10 minutes of talking about it, she interrupts me and she's like, "So, is this a lift or a drag?" Now, of course, but it really made me stop and pause because she started saying, "Okay, Jennifer, think of yourself as an airplane and you are ascending and you're headed to this great destination and you have a flight plan and you know exactly how to get there." She's like, people in your life are going to be either a lift, so helping you get up and ascend, gain altitude or momentum, or they're going to be a drag. They'll pull you down. They might use your fuel and they might make the trip harder. And I was like, wow, Mom, that was freaking brilliant. I think I stopped in the middle of my walk with my dogs and started putting that into my notes. And I even have the note app that says lift versus drag. It was one of those light bulb moments that made my choice at the time really simple. And so I started thinking about the concept of lift versus drag in a lot of areas in people's lives. So I get to talk to a lot of people in the role that I have as a podcast host or with the Brave program and other things that I do. And oftentimes people talk to me about what's going on in their lives or hard choices that they're trying to make. And I kept going back to what my mom said. Is it a lift or is it a drag? And here's the other thing about lift and drag. It's not always exactly, you would think a drag immediately looks like completely negative or bad. So let me give you an example. So let's say you want to buy a home, but your credit sucks. So lift, something that's going to help you, motivate you, gain momentum, might be something like going to an open house or meeting with a great financial planner to get your shit together, to get your stuff in order. But a drag might be taking a dream trip that you totally can't afford. So drag doesn't necessarily have to be something negative. A dream trip is awesome. But if you're really thinking about your destination and it's going towards a home, taking that dream trip is actually something that's pulling you away from that. I'm an entrepreneur. There's a lot of apprehension in going in that direction, and you want to go in on your dream. So lift might be finding about meetups for new entrepreneurs in your city, going to the events and talking to people and networking. And a drag, when it comes to this particular goal, might be a coffee date with your friends who are encouraging you, but they want you to go after the promotion in your company. They want you to stay in that sure, safe path, and it's kind of taking you away from those entrepreneurial goals. Lifts are not always super obvious. Drags are not always negatives. Lifts might be mini opportunities, moments, conversations. Drags might be great people and situations and opportunities, but they're just not aligned with your airplane. So I have to shout it out to my mom because I felt like that was probably one of the best piece of his advice that I received in 2025, because I believe it was December. But my mom doesn't stop there. My mom's been dropping knowledge since I was a little kid. And I shared the story with my daughter when I was visiting her. And this is highly personal. So I'm trusting you all with this. And it's the story of the I am somebody special. And I know if my mom's listening to this, she's like, oh my goodness. I think maybe I was like 10. I don't know. I was in elementary school. I remember we were in our first house in Michigan on Bellcrest. And I remember my room. I remember exactly where my bed was oriented. And I don't remember exactly why I was so upset, but I was having one of those like crisis moments as a 10-year-old. And if you have a 10-year-old, you kind of know what I'm talking about. There are these times where you're just like, oh, emotionally, like, oh, I hit a wall. And I remember being in my closet, crying, sobbing, really upset about whatever it was. And my mom, who's always been such a wonderful, comforting human, but she comes correct with these tools and everything. So I'm surprised she could have been a motivational speaker or, like another Mel Robbins in her time. She still has time to do that. So you guys look her up. Anyway, so she comes to me and we're talking and my self-esteem was in the toilet and I was telling her how horrible I felt and maybe I didn't feel smart enough or pretty enough or whatever it was. And she brings out this yellowed piece of paper and it's tri-folded and it's got little like holes in it because it's been on multiple bulletin boards. So all those push thumb tack kinds of things. And she's like, Jennifer, I want to share this with you. This is really important. It was given to me and I'm going to give it to you. And on it was a 4-verse phrase repeated 3 times. And it said, I guys want you to write this down or just go to the transcript of this podcast. It said, I am somebody special. Every day and in every way, I'm getting better and better. There is no one I'd rather be but me. I thank God for every day he allows me to share. And that repeated. It was 4 lines, 3 times, 1 sheet of paper. But the funny thing was, and this is the part that makes it extra special to me, is on the third group, the third paragraph, whatever, there's a typo. So instead of I thank God for every day he allows me to share, it's I thank God for every dat he allows me to share, D-A-T. So that became the joke. Well, it was kind of like an inside thing. So first of all, I still repeat those lines to myself when I'm having a low moment because it really is super simple and it reminds me of who the hell I am. And the other thing is, in true battle women form, there's that typo on there, which just makes everything so much more light and hilarious. So on one of our infamous walk conversations, I reminded her, and we have this conversation probably like every other year, about that I am somebody special and that I thank God for every dat he allows me to share. And that's exactly, and when I since have lost that old yellow piece of paper with all the push pins and literally it was like a typewriter. So, it was older. But I've since reproduced that page and I refuse to correct the spelling mistake because I think it's also an illustration of the specialness, right? I am somebody special and special people sometimes have typing mistakes. So I just thought that was hilarious. So that was another really great lesson from my mom. Now, the third one, I'm going to say it was a lesson. And maybe when I first tell the story, you'll be like, oh, well, that didn't quite work. You failed or something. But once again, it was a situation with my mom. I was a kid. We were in a mall. And here's something that maybe a lot of you don't know about me, especially because I spend a lot of time on camera. I'm doing this podcast. I do a lot of public speaking. I work with CEOs and presidents and all that stuff. So a lot of people think, oh, Jennifer, she's outgoing. She's whatever. I am actually an extremely shy person. My default is shyness, quietness, and it's only because throughout the years I've had to really work in order to not like shrink in front of people. But when I normally meet someone, like I have to turn a button on because my natural default is like fear, right? It's scary to me. And in a way, it still is. And I remember back when I was a little kid. Well, let me give you an illustration of how shy I was. So, oh gosh, we were living in New Jersey and we just moved there. And I was in elementary school and there was a little girl. And actually, we're adults now. It's so funny to call her a little girl because we're still Facebook friends to this day. She's amazing. Hi, Tina. Anyway, so there was a little girl and I was a little girl and we just moved there and she befriended me and I wanted to play with her. And I believe that our parents exchanged numbers. I don't remember how it went, but I had her phone number and I wanted to set up a time for a play date. And I remember being terrified. I could not call her. I don't know if I'd ever made a phone call in my entire life. And my dad actually, we worked on it together. Like he literally spent a half hour talking to me, encouraging me. He even made a couple of sample calls to his friends to say, Jennifer, it's okay. And it literally took me, I think, 30 to 40 minutes to work up the courage to make a phone call to a kid who liked me and wanted to hang out with me. So that gives you an idea of how shy and terrified that I was. So fast forward a few years, we'd moved to Michigan. There was this cute little, it's so closed now, but there was this place called Tally Hall. So any of my Michiganders listening from the Detroit area, from Farmington Hills, West Bloomfield, there's this place called Tally Hall. It was this little dinky little mall, right? And we were in Tally Hall, and I remember being there with my mom, probably my siblings too. And we were in a store and there was a pair of earrings that I really wanted. And I was like, oh my gosh, I love these. And oh, I would love to have these earrings. And I'm like, Mom, can I have the earrings? And she looked at me and she's like, you can have the earrings if you ask the salesperson how much they cost. And I was like, oh, my life was over. But I realized in that moment, my mom was trying to teach me something because she knew what kind of fear I had. And instead of just, okay, let me get the earrings, she kept forcing me out of my comfort zone. And the thing is that I left those earrings in the store that day because that's how scared I was to actually go up and speak to a stranger. And it's something that sticks with me to this day. And I'm not mad at my mom because I remember begging her, please, Mom, just let me have it. Please, I'll talk to you next time, blah, blah, blah. And she was like, no, all you have to do is ask the person how much it costs. And it wasn't that she didn't care about how much it cost. Well, maybe she did. I don't know. But she said, I don't care. Just you have to be. I'm like, Mom, can you ask? No, you have to be the one to ask. So the reason it sticks with me is because I left those earrings in the store because I was so scared that I let that fear take me away from something that I really, really wanted. I will never forget that. That was a hard lesson to learn, but I'm so glad the first time I learned it, I was a young kid. Because now, whenever I look at something that I really, really want, a lifestyle, a business, moving to a new place, going after something that looks really, really, really hard, I naturally get scared. I naturally question everything. I'm like, oh, can I do it another way? Can someone else do it? Oh my God, I can't do this. And I remember the earrings at Tally Hall. And in my head, those earrings are like, I could have been a model with those earrings. There's so many things that coulda. And I just was so scared and I let fear win. And so now I will do things scared because no matter what, I'm not going to let fear keep me from doing the things that could really change my life or could make me happy or could be great. And so that was probably, the lift versus drag, the somebody special, but the earrings and asking and getting past that fear was probably the best and most long-lasting lesson that my mom ever gave me. So I wanted to dedicate this episode to her and to all the moms and mom figures out there and the daughters and sons and children and thems and theys. It doesn't matter, gender. Because I think there's sometimes we don't realize the impact we have on the people around us, particularly our kids or our parents or people who are kind of like kids or parents to us. And I just wanted to remind folks that those little interactions that you have with people really do matter. I mean, the lessons that my mom may have just flippantly done or things that she said have really stuck with me for many, many, many years. So first of all, I hope you can find value in some of the things that she taught me that I've shared with you. But also I want to remind you to make sure you say thank you to the people in your life, your mentors, maybe they're teachers, maybe they're friends, maybe it's an aunt or uncle, whatever, who have really shaped you with those little lessons, because I don't think we realize how impactful our words are. And I think when people are coming back and telling us what it meant to them, it means a lot. And it works both ways. I will say this, I learn a lot from my daughter. Oh my gosh, this child is so smart and so amazing. Yes, I'm biased, she's my kid, but since other people tell me that too, I figure I'm pretty on track with my assessment. But we're constantly learning from each other. And I'm also going to take this moment to say thank you to her, if she's listening or watching, because there's so much I learned from her about the way she sees the world, tackles the world, what kind of empathy she has. I think the thing that I most admire about her is that when she sees injustice, she acts on it. And in this day and age, which is an episode that I'd love to tackle another day, but there are a lot of injustices. There are a lot of really horrific things happening, especially in the United States with our current leadership. And don't give me any BS about, don't make it political, Jennifer. I'll make it whatever I want. This is my show. I am really disappointed in our leadership. I do not support ICE. I do not support a lot of the decisions our country is making. And what I love about her is she has always found a way, she and her friends, to like buck the system or challenge in the way that they can do. I think a lot of us feel helpless. We feel like we can't take action or the problem is too big. And what I admire about her is she does something. She's always engaged in something, and I just love her and appreciate it for it. And it's taught me some things. So, you know, we're learning from each other, and I just encourage you to keep doing that. Keep being you, keep imparting knowledge, keep absorbing knowledge from the folks around you. And I really enjoyed this solo episode. So if you like Bras Off, make sure you're subscribing, make sure you comment. You can find us on Instagram at Bras Off HQ, or of course you can contact your host directly, me at Finally Jennifer and Fiorella at Styled by Fiorella Elizabeth. We're also at Finally Jennifer on YouTube. You can find the Bras Off podcast there. So thank you so much for listening. Thanks for letting me try out this solo episode. And of course, I want to thank my podcast studio home, Vegas Content Studio, for just being a really cool place to record. So if there's something that you want to talk about next time, make sure you send me a message. Just reach out to me personally on IG at Finally Jennifer. And I can't wait to talk to you once again. Thanks for listening to Bras Off. If you love the show, make sure you go to brasoffpod.com to subscribe and join our community.